Right, so technology's gotten to a point where trying to find the differences between modern phones is like trying to find Waldo when the guy's been cut out of the picture frame. Ya ain't finding it. So when it comes to picking what phone brand you want, it all comes down to what company best suits your needs. You want the world's worst virtual assistant? Go for Samsung. You want to disappoint your parents? Get a Razer. You want your hand held from the scary internet man that'll steal all your information? Apple got your ass covered. One thing Apple likes to do is paint a negative image of the internet, saying it's dangerous, you'll get your information stolen, or get malware downloading shit. To which I have to say, hey genius, maybe don't go downloading shit from sketch website number 7. Like, you don't have to be a goddamn brain surgeon to figure this out. Now, Apple currently doesn't support downloading third party applications, and if you try, you'll see it pretty much kills itself since there's no authentication. Basically, you don't got the Apple stamp of approval. On Android, you can pretty much do whatever you want. If you want to go download a random emulator or anything else, it's just as simple as Googling the APK file of it. There's not currently a lot of options for emulation on Apple, as none of them are really supported by them. So why the hell would anyone want to develop an app on iOS if Apple's just going to end up cracking down on them for their mission of security? However, there's going to be some big changes coming for Apple, since as of recently, the European Union basically said Apple has to allow sideloading on their devices. That is, being able to download third-party apps. And knowing how much Apple hates compromise, I can already expect them to fight tooth and nail to do the bare minimum to comply with these requirements. So sadly, this means people in Europe are going to finally be getting a big improvement, while us Westerners are still going to be stuck effectively in the Stone Age. Now, as of recently, there's been some real big news coming from the UK. For context, back in 2016, the UK government put out a law called the Investigatory Powers Act. At the time, a bunch of companies were worried that they'd have to put in a secret backdoor into their messaging services, which could be a breach of privacy. But on top of that, it could also lead to some huge security risks. Because do you really think that if there is a backdoor that'll only be used by the quote unquote good guys, or, whoever the fuck you really consider, if you think the governments are the bad guys? I mean, you do you. The point is that if there is a security risk, then it could also be accessible by, malicious parties, and not really the best look when you're priding yourself on your security features like Apple is. Now, as of recently, the UK has wanted to make some changes to these laws, and there are two objectives I wanted to talk about that were concerning. Objective 4 here basically says that any company trying to implement a new security feature would have to basically run it past the UK, and if it gets in the way of accessing private data, then the UK can kind of just shoot it down. Now, I don't think you have to be too smart to figure out that this right here is a bad idea, as this would put UK at the forefront of any emerging security technologies and kind of stifles any innovation, as it could just possibly be shut down by the government. In Objective 3, the UK kind of plans to extend its reach. They want to make it so they can access private users' data, even from a different country, so long as the company in question has some UK presence. Anything like a company branching off or setting up a presence in the UK. Now, I feel like this right here is not that big a problem unless it's abused. Because if they request information from a foreign company, it really begs the question, how much data are they entitled to? Because at the end of the day, we have to know that there's not only the UK presence within these companies, there's also people that are outside the jurisdiction of the UK. Makes you wonder if they'll abuse this access to information to access information from people they should have no jurisdiction over. And I don't know about you, but I expect a certain level of privacy when sending messages to random Joe Schmo or whatever the fuck his name is. And I guess the whole idea is that's why some certain apps exist. Things like WhatsApp have end-to-end encryption, and I even believe that Apple Messages, iMessage, whatever the hell you want to call it, also has end-to-end encryption. And end-to-end encryption is basically a way to keep the messages you send private. Kind of like the whole AB conversation, so see yourself out of it, blah, blah, blah. You get the picture. So stupid. The only people that should see it is you, the person sending the message, and the person receiving it. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of companies don't like these changes that are coming into fruition, which leads us to Apple's response. They pulled out the saltiest move imaginable when it comes to changing their security. They are basically threatening to remove FaceTime and iMessages from the UK rather than just comply with this shit. which is like the saltiest shit ever. Like you took out the one redeeming quality that iPhone had. Look, at the end of the day, do I think that these changes will really come into effect? No, probably not. I'm sure people in the UK would still have FaceTime and iMessages, but I'd love to be surprised. Alright, I don't know. That's it. Peace. Fuck off.